Here it is, the Alex Duetto EVO. A little bit more in-depth review on it. It's a really fine machine, I believe. I've had this for about 1.5 years now. They seem to have a few limited amount of machines that came into the United States. So at least that's what my thinking is, because all of a sudden it's not available anymore. We'll take this thing apart here in a little bit and have a look at some of the internals and some of the improvements that I've done to it. Some of the aesthetics that I want to mention is I really enjoy, and this is part of the reason that I really bought this machine, because these two gauges on my prior machine sat down here, and it was a little bit hard when you were down looking at stuff. What was the pressures? I really enjoy that they are up here where you can see them clearly. I think that's a very nice and bold way to put it. I really enjoy the display being up here as well. They really stuck it out of the way, which I think is phenomenal. So that usually they're down here in the front plate or somewhere else, and I really enjoy that they're up here. The display, once you I play guitar, so my fingers are pretty calloused, but it's fairly easy. You just touch the display and you have a shot timer, which is really neat. It just zeroes out. You have your brew group temperature and your steam boiler and water temperature as well. You heard a little bit, the steam boiler emergency vent is located in here, so it fizzles every time it starts up for just a few seconds here. And then you go to a different screen here, and you can see the menu that is in there. You can set the clock. You have some maintenance functions. You can turn the steam boiler off if you're only making a coffee with it. And then you have your settings in here that you can change things as well. But mine usually stays here where I can see the temperatures. So anyway, that's I have this one upgraded with a walnut set from the company that I bought it from here as well. And if you look down here, you can see I've modified the wand a little bit. This is with a cross-section carbon fiber and walnut inlay that I've done as well here. So anyway, we're going to take this thing here apart, and we'll look at how the internals are. So the first thing you do is the heat plate up here. Due to its construction, I've stabilized a little bit, but it is a little bit, there's no way around it, but it is a little bit wobbling here. But the first thing, it comes off like so, and you find a water reservoir, and that is why it wobbles a little bit, because there's no way to really secure that down here, so you can still get the water reservoir out, which sits in here. I don't mind it being a little small. I think I just refill it extra. This machine does come with plumbing, so you can hard plumb it if you want, but I have not done that yet, but you can. So anyway, step number one, and then the other part comes off. The first thing you then do is this screw here, and this screw here then gets taken out. That is the water reservoir bracket. It's only 2 screws, and then you get a smaller screwdriver, and you remove this screw and this screw right here. Then after these 2 screws are done, then essentially you can lift this whole front part out. You have to be a little bit careful with that, because as you look in here, you got your pressure lines and gauges up to your gauges in here in the back side. So I'm gonna lift that out of the way, and then we'll have a look at it then. As you lift that out of the way, you will find that there is an additional screw here and a screw there that needs to be removed. I'll set this guy down and remove those. So as they have now been removed, you will find that this whole plate here now comes loose. It is a two-hand operation, so I'm gonna let that go. You got to move this guy out of the way, and then this plate comes off here. And it is now out of the way. a little bit hard. I had to shine some extra light. But you'll find the steam boiler and the brew group boiler down here a little bit lower. Reservoir sitting here. And there's the little valve down here that the emergency flow valve that comes up and fizzles a little bit. So you can see instantly the pump sits down there at the bottom, and it is extremely tight in there. I've had the whole thing apart because when I bought the unit, underneath this plate you will currently see this is a carbon fiber plate full of dust in there, but that is a carbon fiber plate. And on top of that, I do composites on the side. So here's a carbon fiber rod as well. And because before I installed that, matter of fact, this whole metal piece here is a stainless bracket that I created. The controller, electrical controller, you can see the corner of it here. It was just laying down on top of the pump, which I thought was really odd. So I called the importer of the machine here in the stateside, and their response was, well, that's how they all come. And be as it may, I just did like that. I don't think it should be like that. So I made a stainless bracket that you can quite see that goes here, bolts onto the wall, and then it holds the electrical control box in place rather than it just laying down on top of the pump. I'm just not a fan of that. It may be okay, but I'm just not a fan of that. So ironically, there was already holes in there, so I thought it was a little bit strange. You can see these two screws there and the screw there. I thought it's strange. They were already there. There were nuts on the back side, but they was not used. So I thought, well, I'll just make that. So I did. And it prevented quite a bit of rattling, because that's what got the whole thing started. There was quite a bit of rattle in here when the pump was going. And I thought, well, I'm going to take a look at it. So I did. And that was obviously the module that was just laying on top of the pump. And I didn't care for that. But as far as the internals, it's very, very tight. But I mean, it's a big machine in a small package is why. You know, I think they did a good job with the routing. I think it's done well. Haven't had any leaks with it, but anyway, we'll button this thing up here, and then we'll take one more loop, and then we'll brew a shot and talk a little bit about some of the aesthetics on the outside. So it's now all put together again, and have a little cup up here for warming. But you can see what I'm saying. It's a little bit, not very much. I'm truly okay with it. Some may find it annoying. It doesn't really rattle after I put that carbon fiber plate in the other side here, so it stops at least that corner. So now we got just one corner that's floating a little bit, and so that's okay. A little bit of the display, you can see here, it is pretty nice that it shows the brew group temperature, and it shows whether the unit is on or off, and it shows the steam and water boiler as well, and whether it is on. It typically will prioritize, and you can tell it to heat this guy up before it heats that one up here as well. I really like the display. Like I said, it's easy to work with. If you want to change anything, you go over to, for example, you want to set the clock. This comes up here. We'll go exit back out. And you can see sometimes it doesn't really catch that when you push the display. You can here tell it if you want water source or if you want direct plumbing, whichever you want. Currently it's in a tank, or direct plumbing here as well. And then there's a bunch of menu function. You can turn the boiler on or off as well. And then there's some maintenance functions that I obviously can't get into, but that you can. temperatures. You can tell it what you want it to be, both on the boiler for the brew group and for the steam and water as well. Truly, I just left it where it is. Here it shows like how many shots you've done on it, and you can reset it and whatnot. Go in, total shots of 2019. So, I mean, I really think it's a very, very intuitive display. I really, really enjoy it. Some of the things I would have preferred to be different is when you look at the profile down here. I understand they're trying to make a big brawny machine as compact as possible. But when you put in the portafilter, you can see that you essentially have 2/3 of the tray that you're not using. So as long as you have a little cup, that's okay. But I would have preferred this to be out another inch. I would have really, really enjoyed that. I think that would have been a little bit more, because when I put a big coffee cup underneath to make Americano or something like that, it actually goes out over the stainless, which is scratching the stainless a little bit, and I would have preferred it not to be that. But I understand they're trying to make it fit, and it truly is a huge machine in a very compact setting here. So, I've grown to like it. If you've seen the other video I have that says the chickens are here, is because apparently something changed in the internals of this machine about 2 years ago. Of all Alex products, according to the manufacturer or the importer of the unit, is they went to a higher flow rate. And what I'm seeing is every time I do, about once a year, I back flush the machine with suds. And to clean up everything, I only do it once a year. I truly, that's all. And what happens is, due to the higher flow rate, I presume, is what the manufacturer says, we have tried to replace everything in this unit to see if we can get rid of the... I'm not going to try to replicate it. You have to go to our other video and you can hear it. But what happens is these two gaskets that sits in the brew group lever here, they work like reeds on a saxophone until they seat out. And there's a short, momentarily 2-second, sounds like clucking chickens. It's really just the strangest thing. However, it only does it after you back flush with suds and all the grease go out. And it just does it for a few times. And then every time I back flush, I typically go in and I clean out the brew group in here as well from all the gunk that sits in there. So, you know what? It's just a personality of the machine. I don't mind it. I really don't. It's just kind of fun. I have my chickens here. So I really, really like the aesthetics of the walnuts. That's an upgrade. And you can't maybe quite see. You can see the... Not sure you can really make it up here on the if I could get this thing to focus on it. It's not really liking it, but anyway, that's a pretty nice portafilter. I really enjoy that. And big tray, very easy. It comes out. You can see just magnetically held in place. Everything dislodged, and here is the if you have a drain back down to the I guess sink or wherever that you want to put it in. Here's the overflow coming out from the boilers as they heat up as well, overpressure. And then it shows also here if you're going with a reservoir or in a tank. Very, very easy to clean. This thing comes up here as well. I really, really like it. I really, really like it. It has a USB port down here for firmware updates in the future, which is also nice. So, okay, well, we'll brew a shot. That'll work. You'll see that I think I just got a new bean in there, and I think it's still flowing a little bit fast, but that's okay. So anyway, there we go. You can see the shot timer started. Yeah, it's flowing way fast, but that's okay. You get the drift. So we filled it up. We were about 4 or 5 seconds short here, but anyway, that's all right. Settling out really nice. And a few things that I really enjoy on it as well, compared to my vibrating pump motor machine I had before. There's very little residual left that goes back up in a brew group, and I really enjoy that. Looks like we didn't have any. Get over here where there's more light. Looks pretty evenly. So there you have it. The shot settled a little bit, and I think we have a nice piece. So anyway, you have any questions more in depth in regards to the machine, feel free to ask away. I don't know why the machine all of a sudden is no longer being sold here by the importer of this, at least where I bought it, but I think they probably made some trial runs with, hey, how does this concept work? Will it be acceptable? Will it work? And I think a lot of people got upset about the clucking chicken sound, but yeah, you know, I had an opportunity to take it back onto buyer's remorse, but I really didn't want to. I really like this machine. One thing that is a little bit, you can see, as a matter of fact, I'll demonstrate that. If you take a and want to fill up Americano, the steam is good. It comes with 3 different nozzles, but I think one of the things that might impact some is you can see and after filling that up, you can see that pressures are dropping. We're down to 30, 29, 28. The heater kicks in right away. But that's also, I mean, that's what, 12 ounces? So that's fairly big size. And but we lost pressure fairly quick here, and it's trying to keep up with it. It is a either 15 or 20 amp machine. It can do either, and my outlet over here is only 15, and I suspect if you put it into a 20 amp, still wants 15 volts, then that would be a bit better. You get a little bit more juice, but I think it doesn't really bother me. I don't need to pour that much water that fast and, you know, consecutively. So, and steam, it doesn't really affect it at all. It's only if you just start disposing a bunch of water at the same time, well, this can be an issue here. So anyway, I'd buy it again. Absolutely, I would. I love it. See you soon. Bye.